Do adults need to place more value on marriage? Yes, family structure is an important factor in reducing poverty and expanding opportunity. Children raised in stable and secure families have a better chance to flourish. Two-income households, on average, has more resources to devote to raising children compared to one parent attempting to raise a child alone. When it comes to policymakers promoting strong, stable, and committed families, many of the challenges are related to culture more than legislation or programs. An agreement was reached on 4 cornerstones of a pro-family, pro-opportunity agenda, which are to promote marriage as the most reliable route to family stability, promote delayed responsible childbearing, promote parenting skills and practices, especially among low-income parents, promote skill development, family involvement, and employment among young parents. These proposals will send a strong message that marriage matters as a route to family stability and improved child development, that deferring childbearing until individuals are ready for parenthood matters, that engaged parenting matters, and so does responsible parents. Statistics have shown that a child raised by 2 parents outperforms a peer raised in a single-parent family on key developmental, educational, behavioral, and employment-related outcomes, controlling for other factors. Parents who are married are more likely to stay together and provide a stable environment. 4 out of 5 children who started out in the bottom quartile but who were raised by parents married throughout their childhood rose out of the bottom quartile as adults. Children raised in the bottom quartile by a parent who remained unmarried throughout their childhood had a 50% chance of reaching the top quartile. 2/3 of cohabiting parents have split up before their child reaches the age of 12, compared to only 25% of married parents. Selection effect. The selection effect is a result related to the positive benefits that appear to flow from marriage. Adults who possess certain characteristics such as trustworthiness or perseverance may be more inclined to marry, and children raised by adults with these characteristics may do better in life. Marriage itself is to serve as a mechanism by which parents support a mutual commitment to invest intensively in their child. Principal foundation. Marital commitment remains the principal foundation upon which Americans can build a stable and secure environment with 2 engaged, committed, and nurturing parents. Here are 2 short videos that support the value that should be placed on marriage.
If your marriage crashes, your children are going to hurt. You've got other passengers on the plane. Imagine that you're flying a commercial flight and the plane takes off and they hit autopilot, the cockpit door opens, and the pilots start kind of wandering through the cabin saying, "How are you folks doing?" And you see the cockpit door open and there's no pilots up there, and you're saying, well, guys, maybe you need to be up there. And they say, no, it's on autopilot. You're all fine. And they're having drinks and they're talking to all the passengers and stuff. And the longer they're back there, the more nervous you are, because you're depending on them flying the plane. Your children are depending on you. Your family is depending on you to fly the plane. So let me tell you how to fly high in marriage. These are 5 things real quickly. Number 1 is believe you could crash. Here's how to keep your marriage flying high. You have to believe that you could crash. Now, when you're learning to be a pilot, they talk about invincibility. The worst pilots are the pilots who think they're invincible.
People aren't getting married at an age where they actually are able to grow up with one another, because your wife shapes you and you shape her, and that makes you both better people. You know, when I married my wife, I just turned 24 and she was 20, and we've spent our lives growing up together. Right? I mean, now I'm 38 and she's 35, and that's a long time to spend, and half her life, basically we've spent together, and that means that you grow and you change and you have experiences, and then you bring kids into the world, and that radically changes you even more than just the marriage to And when Jordan says that if you're 40 and single, you're blowing it, he is cutting directly against the grain of all current conventional wisdom, which is the best thing that you could do is delay marriage until you make associate at the law firm working 2,200 hours. My dad used to make a point about this. He used to say, people would ask him about when to get married. And he said, well, or how to find the right person. And what he always said is you have to make the decision to get married before you find the right person. Because if you didn't make the decision that you wanted to get married, then the right person could come along and you could just pull them out of the water. You actually have to make we live in a society where we sort of decide the opposite. It's like, oh, I'll fall in love with the person, and then we'll have sex, and then maybe like 4 years down the road we'll get married. We completely reversed the polarity and the order of events. Look at the sitcoms from the 90s versus the sitcoms from the 60s, right? In the 60s it was, you fall in love, you get married, you have sex. Now it's, you have sex, and then it's really hard for you to say if you fell in love with the person, right? That's like the big move in a sitcom now is, did you fall in love? And then you never get married. The fact that my wife can still look at me as the person who, was 23 and just out of law school, and she can say, I see through all this crap, right? Like, none of this makes a bit of difference to me. Right? The person who you are is not the person who the rest of the world sees. It's the person who I've known since long before you were that to the rest of the world. That's an amazing thing. It also gives you the ability to have somebody who calls you on your bullshit, which is like an actual real thing. Once you get, to a certain level of power, people just are really, really afraid to call you on your bullshit. And having a group of people, whether it's friends or particularly your wife, who's able to do that, is vital. Because if you don't have that, you spin off the rails incredibly fast. My wife tends to think in terms of the effect on the family. Right? As a man, my main thing is like, what is my effect on the world? I mean, I literally do that for a living. What is my effect on the world? What's my effect on society? What's my effect on the people who listen to the show? And so I'll try to overcommit. Okay, I want to get all these things done, right? I mean, there's so much to do before you die, right? You got to get out there, you got to travel, you got to change people, you got to do all this. And my wife will say, yes, but what about the kids? Like, do you want to be away for that night? Do you want to be able to put the kids in bed? And you do need that balance. And again, the differences between men and women are not only beautiful, they are vital. And pretending that those differences are of no consequence whatsoever, and that other alternative forms of family structure are therefore equivalent in any way at all, they're different. They're different.
We've been married for 51 years.
54 years.
We're celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary this year. Friday the 13th turned out to be the luckiest day of my life.
I think what I love the most about Bruce is he's very kind.
She's a good cook.
Serene.
She's a very compassionate person.
She is truly the person I always wanted to be.
I love it. She is the epitome of serenity.
Oh, one surprise to me about marriage after all these years has been what a joy it is at this stage.
I didn't know that it would be that wonderful, again, as it was, before we had all these little screaming Mimis.
Well, it's not easy.
Well, and the biggest
And if
problem,
anybody thinks that you're going to be on your honeymoon for 51 years, it's ridiculous.
Sometimes the tunnel's pretty long.
Yeah, and dark.
Well, it has been an enjoyable challenge because I've been introduced into a culture that I was just totally ignorant of.
it was very hard for her, I know
Yeah.
that. What
But
hurt so much?
You. I think I had to have been like in my 30s or early 40s, and I just thought, this is it? This isn't fun.
It didn't matter to me that Jim wasn't a member of the church because I loved him very much. And I thought if I only lived with him for this time only, then that was what I would be happy with. But a couple of years later, when our children started to come along, I realized that was not true, that I wanted to be with my children and him forever.
Really, the only reason it worked in those early years is we both loved the Lord, and we taught our children to love the Lord.
The secret to anything, I think, holding to the rod. If you hold to the rod and don't give up when things are hard, there's always a way through. President Hinckley always said it, that this will pass and that things will get better. And things always do get better.
So you have to be patient and loving and see where it goes.
Yeah.
You're going to have ups and downs, but it's worth it.
You cannot change someone to fit the mold you want them to be.
I just respect his space and he respects my space. Love him where he is.
Be sure to buy 2 tubes of toothpaste.
Well, I will say you are the love of my life. And I'm so grateful that we have stuck it out this long, and I see us together another gazillion or Google. Do you say Google now?
She's my babe.
And I love you, and I love the fact that I'm going to have you by my side forever.
I love him so much. Love being with him.
How could you not kiss?
Yeah.